Hello, my name's Elise. I work at Peter Francisco's Soil and Water Conservation District, and we serve Buckingham and Cumberland counties. Today we're going to talk about a watershed. So what is a watershed? A watershed is the land over which water travels to go to a common body of water. So right here I have an Enviroscape model, and it's a model of a watershed. You have a little farm. We have a factory. We've got some wooded areas, residential areas, and when it rains, whatever water does not soak into the ground runs off and goes all the way into this lake. And we'll call this lake Bear Creek Lake because Bear Creek Lake is a good lake right there in Cumberland County, and water from Bear Creek Lake goes into James River, which is the longest river in Virginia, and it flows on down to the Chesapeake Bay. And so we're part of the James River watershed. This would be the Bear Creek Lake watershed, part of a bigger watershed, the James River watershed, part of a bigger watershed, the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So let's get started. We have over here this lovely farm, and Farmer Jones does a great job planting his crops every year. So he's out here on his tractor, and he's plowing up his field. And you'll notice when he plows it, he has a lot of loose soil. And what is going to happen when it rains? So I got this handy dandy water bottle, and when I squirt it, it's raining, and look, that loose soil is going right into Bear Creek Lake. And before, Bear Creek Lake was just lovely, wasn't it? But you just keep watching and see what happens. His farm, he's got some cattle, and he doesn't have any fences for his cattle. His cattle can get into the little stream over here, and he feeds his cattle very, very well. And so when you feed something really well, what goes in must go out, right? So these cows, they go to the bathroom. Whoops, nice little cow pods here, a few cow pods up here. He's got a little pig, and they all make a mess when they go to the bathroom, right? And the rain comes. And what do you think happens? Water runs downhill, doesn't it? And then it goes into our lake. Yuck. So let's talk about what our farmer could do differently. And that's what soil and water conservation districts do. They help teach what's called best management practices, or BMPs. So we rent a no-till drill, so he doesn't have to till all the soil up and cause loose soil. He can actually drill right in, put his seed deep into the soil with our no-till drill. Or he could have contoured. You see how he's got the land where it's contoured so it goes this way? He could have made his rows so there's a little berm to contour it differently so that it doesn't run off into the lake. He could have left himself a little buffer. He could have left some grass on the edge, which would absorb some of the runoff, or he could have left a riparian buffer of trees, put some trees there. He could have done that. So there's different things that the Soil and Water Conservation District could help him learn. With his cattle, he could have fenced his cattle in out of the stream and installed automatic waterers. Built litter sheds and things. These are all things that your Soil and Water Conservation District will help you with. All right. So with this one, we really can't point to the source of pollution because there's farms all over the place, and it could have been anybody's stuff that got into Bear Creek Lake. But we're going to look at a place where now you can actually point your fingers. So that's point source pollution with this. This is our factory. And let's just pretend like it's a shoe factory, right? And you can see that the factory has a pipe. And out of the pipe, all the waste that the factory produces goes right into a ditch that runs right into our water source. So here we go. Yikes. Look at the junk that is piping right into our water source. Remember, water always runs right down, and it's getting right into our Bear Creek Lake. Yay! So this is called point source pollution. You can actually point your finger to who's polluting the water there. All right, Now we have this lovely area with trees. And in Buckingham and Cumberland County, we experience logging quite a bit, don't we? So we have loggers came in and they cut down all the trees. And so now there's nothing to hold the soil in place, is there? So we have some loose soil here. And what do you think's going to happen when it rains? I bet you guessed it, didn't you? It's going to run off and get on down into our Bear Creek Lake, isn't it? Going to make a mess, a muddy mess. Look at that. There's just nothing to hold that soil in place, is there? Yikes. Oh, dear. What could have this logger... Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to our factory, guys. We didn't discuss what we could do differently for our factory. Now, thankfully, for our factory, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, that's at the national level, the federal level, and the DEQ, which is Department of Environmental Quality for the state of Virginia. They have rules in place about how much pollution you can put in. Do you know what these people could have done? They could have put in a marsh, planted some good grasses in here that could help absorb stuff. And then when you have your pollutants, do you know that these marsh grasses will actually soak up some of the pollution? That's something that they could have done differently, but that's something that the EPA and the Environmental DEQ would be regulating on that one for them. All right, let's get back over here to our forest and stuff. So what could our foresters have done differently? They could have done a select cut where instead of taking all the trees, they could have left a few trees. They could plant a buffer. All kinds of things that they could do differently. But we have our Department of Forestry, thankfully, in Virginia, which kind of helps regulate some of that and helps keep some of the runoff. All right, now we go to our neighborhood. First of all, they're making a new Dollar General right here in our neighborhood, and they're just tearing this place all up. But, so we have loose soil again. And when it rains, what do you think's going to happen to it? Ay, yikes. Making a mess out of people's yards. It's running. There's a nice little sewer drain right here. It runs right down the sewer drain and goes out our sewer drain and right into the lake. So we could have put some silt fence, and most permitting, when you get a permit to build commercial things like this, then the county would require that you had a nice little silt fence around here that could help catch this kind of debris so that the soil doesn't erode and run off into our water sources. Here in our little neighborhood, we've got boys and girls that live here, and they have their dogs and cats. They like to go to the bathroom, you know, in their yard, and they don't clean up after themselves. We also have cars, and some of our car owners weren't very responsible. They had oil leaks. Maybe they had some transmission fluid leaks onto their roads and stuff. And so we have all kinds of things. Ooh, this yard over here wanted to win Yard of the Month, so they way over fertilized their yard. They just put down fertilizer. They didn't even get their soil tested to find out if they needed that much fertilizer. And what do you think is going to happen when the rain comes? Where do you think all this stuff is going to wash to? Oh my goodness. So now we have dog and cat mess going down there. We have oil, we have transmission fluid. It's just all running off, running down into our, we have fertilizer, all going down into our beautiful Bear Creek Lake. So what could we do differently here? We could be responsible. If we have an oil leak or a transmission leak, let's get our cars fixed. Let's keep them in good condition. Get your soil checked. Don't just apply fertilizer to your grass just randomly. Apply just the right amount. Pick up after your cats and dogs, go there with one of those little plastic bags and scoop up your own poop, be a responsible pet owner, because nobody wants to swim in this lake anymore. Nobody wants to boat in this lake anymore. Yikes. Do you think about the poor fish that lived in that lake? They couldn't. They used to live there and we messed their lake all up. So my question is, who polluted Bear Creek Lake over here? Wasn't just one person, was it? It was a whole bunch of people, and everything that they did added up. So we all pay a responsibility to keep our waters clean, don't we? So next time you think about doing things, think about the consequences on your water. And don't just dump things out of your garage down to the drain. Don't just apply fertilizer randomly. Fence your animals in and keep them out of streams and things. If we all work together, we can keep our lakes nice and clean.